October 20th every single year from 2020 has now been tagged as a significant day. And we saw that some protesters came out to, eulogize that date because on Sunday, precisely, the Lagos State Police Command actually freed at least 22 individuals detained during the #NSAS memorial protest on Sunday. Well, these arrests took place at the Lekki tollgate area. The protesters demanded the complete implementation of the findings from the judicial panels established following the protests. Now, it would interest you to know that 4 years ago, thousands participated in the #NSAS protest, opposing the action of the disbanded Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS, which faced allegations of police brutality. Well, on Sunday, protesters were stopped from marching through the toll gates, and security forces detained demonstrators, including the organizer of the memorial event. And of course, this brings us to our conversation for today. Human rights violation in Nigeria, the arrest of protesters. Joining me right here in our Lagos studio to look drastically at this issue is a human rights activist, Comrade Jaja Emmanuel, who joins us live this morning in the studio. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you.
So I would love you to lay me in on what you make of what happened on Sunday at the Lekki tollgate.
Well, what happened on Sunday is very sad, very, very sad indeed, because these are the people who came out empty-handed just to remember some of our guys that died 4 years ago during the end SARS protests. Unfortunately, the government, with their decision and with their wisdom, decided to come and arrest them and stop them not to protest. I think it's very, very sad in a country called Nigeria in 21st century. It's a very sad situation.
Now, can you give me a feel of one of the things you actually feel led to them being arrested on that day?
Well, the government with their wisdom knows, but to the best of my knowledge, I know that these are people who just come out to show solidarity for some of their loved ones that were arrested, some that died over the protest of NSAS, and maybe the government doesn't want people to protest. If it is the way Nigeria want to go, well, I wish them luck. But to the best of my knowledge, I know that there is a limit to human endurance. With the way it's going, it will get to a stage an ordinary man will come out and say, we no go agree, like we must say in our local language.
So earlier this year, we saw another protest come on board. In fact, we've had 2 protests in Nigeria this year alone. The #EndBad Governance protest we saw around August thereabouts, lasting for 10 days in some states. And also in October, we saw the Fearless in October protest. If you are to have a comparison between what happened on Sunday and the aftermath of the #EndBad Governance protest, where we saw some protesters being arrested and also being charged for treason as well. What do you make of it, and what would you say right now is the state of situation regarding coming out for protests in Nigeria?
Whether the government likes it or not, people will come out and protest. But in Nigeria here, people are afraid. Too much people are afraid. Recently, we all saw what happened in Kenya, where citizens came out and they were protesting. It happened all over the world, and protest is allowed. It's a fundamental human right. We have the right to protest. And if the government is stopping people not to protest, it means there's something they're hiding. I think that when they allow people to protest, criticize them, from there they will learn. A listening government will allow people to protest. And during the protest, with what the people are requesting, it will give them an age to know, to judge themselves whether they are doing the right thing or the wrong thing. But in a situation where everybody kept quiet, when you want to protest, they say, don't protest, don't do this, don't do this. I think it's not right, and I don't know where it will lead us. But I tell you, like I said in my prologue, there's a limit to human endurance. It will get to a stage that people will say, is it not death? Let all of us die.
Speaking about the protesters, do you think they act in one voice? Because we saw what happened during the last protest we had. We saw some person saying we're going to participate fully, we're in this together. And then we saw another section saying we're not involved, we still believe in this government. And it begs the question of unity and, unionism, if there's a word like that, when things like this come out. What do you have to say regarding that?
Well, in a situation like ours here, when people gather and say they want to protest, there are some people, I know there are some people are both of us. When 2, 3 people take a decision and say this is where we are going, all of a sudden somebody opted, then something must have gone wrong. And it's common in Nigeria here because everybody, every citizen, as long as Nigeria is concerned, all of us, we are feeling the heat. We go to the same market, but unfortunately, to those of them that are stopping these people, they don't go to the market we go. Now, with what the president said this morning, it's either you buy fuel, 1,000 naira, or buy CGN or CNG, 200 naira. I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand. Is there special people? The answer is no. We all are feeling the heat, whether we like it or not. We can pretend till thy kingdom come, but it's affecting every Dick, Tom, and Harry. So to those of them that opted at last, whatever that comes thereafter, we will all bear the consequence.
And I'm sure everybody's feeling the brunt right now. But I would love us to go back to 4 years ago where we saw the hashtag NSAS protest happen on October 20, 2020. Would it be right to say it's achieved its aim already? For the protesters who came out to air their views and air their opinion on that day, do you think that that protest did achieve its aim?
It did indeed, because after the protest, if my memory can still carry me, I think they disbanded NSAS and give it another name or something. So it did, because before then, we can see police brutality. You are moving on the road, police will stop you. Sometimes some people like their lifestyle, either they put on tattoo, they do their hair, dread and whatever, they will stop you and begin to search you. And I think it did achieve. But the thing is also, Nigerians, we're afraid. Instead of us to come out and condemn what is bad, some people, either they are bought over, either they are gaining. When things are not working well, there are some people that eat in that situation. So those people will not allow things to work well. But to the best of my knowledge, it did achieve its purpose. It's on record. There is no how you can write the history of Nigeria today without remembering October 20, NSAS. It's not possible. It's already there, and it will continue to be there.
Still on what happened on October 20, 2020, we saw a situation of distractions being made in some places, especially here in Lagos. We saw what happened with government properties being destroyed, some private organizations being destroyed. It begs the question of hijacking protest. Do you think that some of these things that happened during that day on, October 20th actually spanned the government to say, you know what, we're not going to allow the situation happen anymore, and it's best we do not even allow it to occur at all?
When the going get tough, the tough get going. What usually happens, the people that came out to protest have a good intention. But in the process, we also what happened. There are people who came to, counter them not to protest. And it is this type of people that cause this chaos. And when there is protest like this, the hoodlums capitalize on that. That is why it is always advisable. Genuine protest in advanced world, all over the world. When you see genuine protest or protesters, you see the police, you see the security agents, guide them. They march towards the streets, go to the government house, present their request and whatever. They are not there to destroy. But the hoodlums capitalize on that. Of course, that is what some of them want. Coupled with the situation we find ourselves in Nigeria. There is hunger in the land. So these boys, this miscreant hanging around under the bridge, whatever, will capitalize on that. I assure you, and I say it from the bottom of my heart, there is no genuine Protestant people, intelligent people who want to protest that will go and start destroying government property. It's not possible.
Now, you are a human rights activist. At this point, I'd love us to begin to highlight some of the fundamental human rights a typical Nigerian or an average Nigerian should enjoy for the purpose of knowing your rights as a citizen of this country. I know we have rights to fair hearing, we have rights to, assemble and all. So what other rights do Nigerians enjoy or should enjoy at this point that you also think actually is violated currently?
Yes, those rights are there, but we look at it, it's there on paper. It's not practicable because this gathering is allowed. People are allowed to move around. People are allowed to protest. People are allowed to do one or two. You are allowed to freedom of association and all. But all those things are in the Constitution, but it's on paper. If the law say people are allowed to protest for their fundamental human rights, why then does government stop them? It then means there's something they're hiding, or there's something they are doing which is not right. You should allow people to protest. And over the time and over the years, you can see that our judiciary has been tampered with. So you see the judiciary belittling themselves. That is what is causing the problem. If you protest and they bring you to court or whatever, ask you, you give your reasons why you are protesting. If they want to judge, they are talking treason. Somebody who doesn't have knife, who doesn't carry gun, whatever, how do you want to go and overthrow government? It's not possible. It's not possible. So those laws are there, but it's not practicable because very few people are the one. And now with the situation we find ourselves, if you want to come out and say you want to protest, before you realize the security agent will follow all over the street with gun, with ammunition, with tear gas, throwing tear gas, carrying you. So where is the law? Who is obeying the law? So if you allow me to say, I will even say that the one that is not obeying the law. But they hold a knife and they hold the arm. They cut it the way they like it.
So what do you think should be done at this point to ensure that all of the laws stipulated in the 1999 Constitution, is upheld to the fullest?
I think the government should go back to the drawing board. Go back to status quo. Read the law. They have the people who knows the law, who interpret the law. They should allow people to exercise their fundamental human rights when need be. After all, you don't see protesters on the streets every day. It is something that will lead to something. Like what we are finding ourselves now. Everybody knows bad governance. Everybody knows, look at only this year alone. You know how many times the prices of petroleum products has been increased? Only this year alone. And we're in October. Nobody knows. This government promised us that a price of rice will be sold at 40,000. Have you seen the rice? Where? Nowhere. So all the promises they have made, because they have failed to fulfill their promise, so that's why they're trying to cover up. If when the government say, okay, price of rice will be 40,000 naira and they flood the rice into the market, whatever, I think some things, or they do something to ameliorate the situation we find ourselves. Nobody will protest, but in this case, they are worsening the situation. How can a president just come out this morning and say it's either you buy fuel 1,000 or you buy CNG 200? What's the significance? Has he put anything in place? This is what they do. Yesterday or whatever, the judiciary, I heard that they started paying them 300% increment. Judiciary. What about the medical doctors? Have you gone to the hospital? The doctors are clamoring to go on strike. The teachers, ASU and co universities, they are all clamoring to go on strike. Nobody cares for them. You only care for judiciary. Why are you interested in that particular section? So I think that the government should go back to the drawing board. Otherwise, I'm not predicting doom or prophesizing doom, but it will get to a stage that Nigerians will say no to all this.
Let's talk about the stance of the NLC and the TUC in all of this, and especially regarding protests in Nigeria, because we've seen them over time come out to urge your grievances and to ensure that the plights of the masses are seen and also the voices of Nigerians are being heard. But over time, we've also seen a situation where Nigerians have practically lost trust, in the sight of NLC and TUC. And some persons even tag them to be toothless bulldog, where you come out, you just shout, and then nothing is really been done about it. Regarding that, what do you think?
Well, talk is cheap. People blame NLC and they blame TUC. The question is, you as an ordinary Nigerian, what have you done? The NLC and TUC, they are fighting the right and the welfare of their members.
Do you, of their members and not of
Absolutely.
Nigerians, do you
Absolutely.
think they are doing enough to allow Nigerian voices being heard?
They are doing enough. They are doing enough, but sometimes too, you know, our enough may not be the best, or our best may not be enough. In a situation where you want to move, before you realize you will be arrested. So they are human beings too. So they are doing enough. And usually, if TUC and NLC being the mouthpiece of the people, if they are speaking, it is expected that citizens will join them. But in this part of the world, or in this situation, you will see some people say, you know, concern me. They are fighting for their pocket. They are fighting for their salary. It doesn't concern me. If you go to some other part of the world, even just some African countries here, if the labor center declare a strike or whatever, everybody will join. But here in Nigeria, you see somebody, my pikin won't go school, oh, my soup well could go throw away, my tomato for market, you know, a lot of reasons here. And based on that, you see people being not joining. Everybody's supposed to join because what they are fighting is for everybody. Because an average worker in Nigeria have about 10 or 15 people that relying on that salary. The wife is there, the children is there, the in-laws is there, extension in that particular salary. So I think they are doing enough, but they are not also getting full support from the masses.
Speaking about getting full support of the masses, let's talk about the implications of arresting and suppressing peaceful protests and also protesters in Nigeria. What are the long-term implications to all of this?
The long-term implication is, as a civil rights activist, we can't stop. We will continue to do this. If you remember, there was a time of Tai Solarin. There was a time of Gani Faoni, all those words. There was time. So this thing will continue to be there. So if you like, arrest. As you are arresting, the new generation will still to come.
Do you think it's going to prevent persons from coming out moving forward? Because just as you said, a lot of persons do not really care. Some persons will say, I do not want to die for this country. What's my business? Let them go do their thing. Do you think arresting protesters every single time would stop the voices of persons being heard and also people wanting to come out on protest days?
It will never stop. Arresting people will never solve the problem. So it's just, I think what is going on is what I call maladministration in the government side. It's not going to stop. It will continue. And to those who say, well, I don't want to die for this country, whatever, well, I pity you because there is no other country you have than here. And I know that Nigeria is the best country in the world if you get it right and if you get good leadership. This is where I have traveled all over the world. I've gone to see things myself, and there is no place you can use to compare with Nigeria. But our problem here is leadership, greed. An average leader in Nigeria here would like to accumulate wealth. Go to America, go to other places. Whenever they see even ordinary their flag, common flag, they obey their flag, they do everything. But here, somebody will say, I don't want to die. After all, people are there sharing their money. What is my business? So, and this lukewarm attitude, this I don't care attitude, that is what has kept us where we are. The very moment we begin to realize that this is our country, we will not die for this country, things will change. If we do not do that, we will continue to magma roll. We will continue to move like snail movement. But stopping protest, whatever, is not going to stop. It will continue. The young generation are coming.
Right. So as we tend to wind up the conversation, do you foresee any protest coming up again in this administration?
If the administration did not do what is right, there will still be a protest. If they don't do what is right, there will still be. That is sure bank. Of course, you can see now, you can hear that ASU is looming to go on strike again. Only this year, you can count the number of strikes ASU has gone. These are the people that teach you. These are the people that made some of them what they are today. Why are you neglecting them? Now, the minimum wage, they say they should pay. Some states say they are not paying. But I assure you, all the states, if they are sincere, they can pay that minimum wage.
Yes, indeed. Well, human rights activist Comrade Jaja Emmanuel have been having this view been really shared right here in the studios. We have been talking about human rights violation in Nigeria, arrest of protesters that we did see happen here some days ago in Lagos State. We'll leave the conversation here, always an unending one, as we see what would eventually pan out in the coming days right here in Nigeria. Thank you so much for gracing the studio this morning. Really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, that's our bit right here this morning in Lagos. It's back to you in Benin.